I'm all good here.
Okay, and live. Okay, and we are live. Welcome to All Things Xbox Podcast, episode 4. Wow, yeah, episode 4. Anyway, today, got with me Logan. Logan, how you doing?
Doing great, Jamie. How about yourself?
Good, good. It's been an interesting week for news because some of it came off the back of the PlayStation event, and everyone in chat, please share. I'm still trying to get this podcast out there. Let me know how the audio is in the comments, in the chat. So the PlayStation thing happened, and I have to talk about Square because it happens that every week I seem to rant about Square Enix. As an Xbox fan, it makes sense, right? I'm bound to whine about. Admittedly, I whine about Square Enix a lot. They cherry pick whatever games go on Xbox, and it's going to be a thing that happens for years. At least it looks like it anyway. However, I've got some good things to say. Over the past week, they've been advertising Guardians of the Galaxy really well. And, before I talk about the next Square Enix thing, I want to talk about Guardians a bit. That game has really surprised me. Like last week, I know I was gushing on about it, but like it is so good, so good. Like to the point where I had this vague outline of what my top 10 games of the year list would look like, and that would obviously change when I play things like Far Cry and Halo and Forza and stuff. But this game is really threw a spanner in the works because it is too good. Like I went into it with high expectations and it's succeeding them. It's exceeding them. Like I've never actually played an action adventure like this before, where I've just wanted it to keep going. Like I've got 3 chapters left, I believe, and I don't want it to end. It's around about a 20-hour experience, which I'd say is a good length of the game. It has a lot of replayability. I know for a fact I'll be replaying it because there's different dialogue choices and outcomes for stuff, but like it's such a good game that I honestly don't know how to do my top 10 games of the year now because it's just blown me away. Like the expectations for it just blown out the water. And for people that like want something fresh, and the thing is, we live in a world where everything's open world now, and I love open world games. But it is like it's very refreshing to play a focused experience where there's still some exploration, but you're led one way and it takes about 20 hours to finish. I don't know. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, I personally haven't played the new Guardians. I've seen all the positive feedback in my timeline, talking to you, everyone else. It's definitely on my purchase list. I've kind of got a backlog going right now, as I'm sure most of you have, that I'm trying to plow through. Some last minute horror games I got before Halloween I need to beat, playing Fatal Frame, Black Maiden, and such. But it's definitely on my to buy list. And as for open world, I agree. I love open world as well, and I like linear games. But to me, it feels like the best mix is that kind of hub based world that you see in like Dragon Age Inquisition or Mass Effect. You've got the Normandy or you've got the Keep. You can do your little quests and mission table things and send out spies or do this and do that, and then gear up and get ready for another quest, and then you go to a new planet or a new land that you need to explore, and then it's big and it's open and there's tons to do, but it doesn't feel overwhelming, and it feels like the perfect happy medium to me.
Yeah, there's different ways to go about it, but like I have to really commend Eidos Montreal. And if anyone's been following me for a while, I'm always going to talk up Eidos Montreal. Like if you make Deus Ex Human Revolution, for life you get a pass. That game was so good. But like Guardians of the Galaxy, like I highly recommend it. We save so much money due to games not like I should say games going to Game Pass day one. May as well buy it. Like I highly recommend people buy it. Um, I hope we do see expansions for it. I know they've said it's a standalone experience that we may see sequels to, but I'd honestly buy multiple expansions for this. But that's a story for another day. But anyway, So Square Enix, I'm not going to rant about them this week. I have good things to say. So during the PlayStation event, the new Star Ocean was announced. The Divine Force. Strange name, but whatever. It's coming to Xbox as well. Xbox One and Xbox Series consoles. It will be optimized for Xbox Series consoles as well. That's huge news. We haven't had a new Fantasy Star, or should I say a Star Ocean on Xbox since, I think, 2010. It's been a long time. So you've got to wonder, could this be the start of things to come, or is it Square Enix continuing to cherry pick? Because again, we've missed the past 3 Star Ocean games. So it's weird because I always mention Square Enix cherry picking whatever comes over. We get Kingdom Hearts 3 day one, but we wait 2 years for the remasters. Stuff like that. It's all over the place for Square Enix. But this isn't a rant. I know it sounds like a rant, but it's a good thing that we're starting to see some progression with Square Enix. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, Star Ocean is a beloved series, especially for big JRPG fans like ourselves, and it's a huge deal that it's back to Xbox. We haven't had one since Star Ocean: The Last Hope, which was a 360 title. So you basically skip Xbox One generation entirely, and it's it's a big deal. Kudos to Sarah Bond and Phil. They've been busting it, trying to get more and more titles on the platform. Not every company plays ball and wants to do that, but they've been doing a good job with earning trust and goodwill from some of these Japanese publishers. And Square is kind of a thorn in the side of a lot of Xbox fans because of how they cherry pick and do this and that. And I mean, I get it, and deservedly so. People are frustrated and they don't like the double standard on some things. But when they do well, they deserve recognition. And I'm very happy Star Ocean is coming. I will definitely be picking it up. And I hope it's a sign of future things to come going forward because there are fans who definitely play Japanese games on Xbox or at least play them on Game Pass. I mean, you see the Yakuza series, for example. The numbers for Game Pass were pretty high for that series. Um, Sega was pleased with that. So I think Star Ocean is just another positive step towards furthering efforts in the region.
Yeah, it's some sort of progression because it's been too long. Like we see one JRPG on the platform like every 6 months. People get annoyed. People voice it to the staff over at Xbox and to Square. Like as much as I give Square Enix like a lot of how should I put it, negative talk, like they must have like a weird side when it comes to their notifications on social media because all the time they get hounded, about these games. And there are people working on the social media teams over at Square Enix that have no control over it. And to them, I apologize, but you're going to continue to get this stuff. Like it's just how it is. It's the internet. And I have to say hi, John Race in the chat. Really need to speak to you soon. It's been too long. But yeah, hopefully we'll see more. So like this will be like the first Star Ocean game in about a decade on Xbox, which is a huge deal. And, hopefully this will lead to other games. We have seen the past few, Kingdom Hearts games, including the weird musical spin off, which is extremely overpriced in my opinion. That was like £30 in the UK for just a rhythm based game. Shouldn't be that much. But yeah, it's a good sign. It's a good sign at least because we still at the early generation. We 1 year into the generation, and we're going to see more Japanese RPGs announced throughout the next year. And again, it's a good sign. I just recommend people pay attention to it if you want it. Hopefully, they'll put out a demo. And also speaking about Square Enix, I also played the demo for the Final Fantasy Origins game, which is an action RPG. That has to be one of the weirdest games I've ever played. It doesn't play like a traditional action RPG. It controls half like a Souls game, half like an action RPG, and the controls are all over the place. There's 2 modes. There's the quality and performance. The performance mode I think it's like locked 40. It's not 60 and it's not 30. It's kind of all over the place. But, I highly recommend people download it. It's available on Xbox and PlayStation. So if you're interested in it, download it. Give them feedback, especially on the performance, because the performance on that game on every platform so far is not good whatsoever. So, yeah, there's that. But, yeah, that's Square Enix this week. And, hopefully a good sign of things to come. Next up, we have Psychonauts 2. So this is a late topic that I added because they just put out a video talking about an update for accessibility options. So that game has an array of accessibility options that will help anyone get into that game, from controls to color blindness options. Well, if you've finished the game, you have to go in and get the collectibles. That's the only way to do the whole 100%. So there's not really any markers telling you which part of which levels have the collectibles, which means you would have to actually run through each level in its entirety each time. Now, I loved Psychonauts 2. It's one of the best games of the year, in my opinion. But wanting to 100% that game, it's kind of rough because I don't want to run through every single level from start to finish, just scouring and looking for collectibles. Well, now, each part of each level is going to be highlighted to see what's there. So, there's figments, these little pictures you collect throughout each level. Now there's going to be a little marker on the map saying which part of which level you've collected them. So small things like that. They're going to add an area where you can battle more enemies, because once you finish the game, there's really nothing to fight. So you unlock these powers and combat abilities throughout the entire game. For what reason? Nothing. There's literally nothing to do. But now they're adding the ability to, go into these little combat arenas, which is, really good. But it's good to see a small game like that continue to get support, because, again, remember, that game may have not even had boss battles if it wasn't for Microsoft picking them up. So, have you played it, Logan?
That one, regrettably, is in my backlog as well. It's definitely on my playlist, and I'm thrilled that they've added some accessibility stuff. I know they were at the forefront of, they put an invincibility mode, which somehow ruffled some feathers for some reason. I don't know why someone being able to be invincible and just play through the game just for the story is bothersome. I mean, it is what it is. Like, everybody wants to experience the game in their own way, and I'm happy that they have features for color blindness and all these other things that a lot of companies don't think about in some of the in-depth accessibility options that they put into the game. I think the collectible tracker thing is incredibly helpful. As a completionist junkie myself in games, I'm particularly fond of that, because there's few things as frustrating as sitting at 99.7% of a game and you can't find one bloody collectible somewhere. So I'm really excited about that, and the in game arenas and stuff. That's awesome. Gives you something else to do and go back to. And yeah, kudos to the team at Double Fine. And like you said, they were likely going to cut the boss fights if before they were picked up by Microsoft. So huge chunk of the game wouldn't have even been there, and now they're adding even more stuff. So just another sign of being acquired is not some death sentence for these companies, or some now they're under control and they must do this or that. Now they have all the resources to do whatever they want, and have the manpower to make big teams and to create their true vision. So it's all thumbs up for me.
Yeah, continued support for these games is always good. And accessibility options, I've never understood, and we're gonna go into a rant here, an unplanned rant. I don't understand people's upset against accessibility options. I never understood what's wrong with people having access to games more. That's what I don't understand. And while I'm on it, every day and every week we see on Twitter these spaces pop up. And I know everyone listening has seen this. Well, probably everyone except John Race. But these little spaces pop up on Twitter, and it's filled with drama, people talking and shouting over each other. There's no actual discussion going on. And I've seen a few of these pop up about accessibility, and a lot of these came up because of Psychonauts 2. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. What is wrong with more people having the ability to play a game? Not everyone is as able as like everyone else. Like, is there anything wrong with that? If someone wants to run through Psychonauts 2 with invincibility mode on, let them. Who cares? You know, if someone wants to run through Final Fantasy 8 remastered with the enhancements turned on, which basically make it, impossible to lose, why not? Like, this gatekeeping has to stop for video games. Like, who are we, nerds on the internet, to talk to other people and tell them what they can't enjoy? I don't care if someone has 1 million subscribers, 200,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers, or one. Everyone should be allowed to play video games. I don't care who it is. Let them play, and let them play how they want. Guess what? I play first-person shooters on hard every time. But when I play a horror game, chances are I'm going to knock it down easy because I'm crap at them. But most games I play are normal. So if someone wants to play through a game with whatever options turned on or off, let them. Like, I do not get this. And this is a topic that comes up almost every week now. And it's kind of sad because you're basically saying, like, not only do you want it to be not as easy for some people, but you just want to stop complete groups of people altogether, potential millions of people, not allowing them to play games. Like, that is horrible. Like, I don't understand that. And, like, the same thing popped up about the accessibility controller. That's allowing people that can't, use their digits or hands properly to play games. Like, what is wrong with that? Isn't that the whole point of why we play video games? To enjoy, to relax, to escape from this, crappy pandemic world we lived in? I don't get it. It's a shame because who are we, nerds on the internet, to gatekeep? Like,
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, and I mean, it's one of the negative things about the gaming community. I love the gaming community. There's a tons of positives. Met lots of great people, yourself included, through it. It's a great place, but there are some pockets in there that just make you scratch your head about. But yeah, like you, I play some games like max difficulty. Like I'm a solo legendary Halo guy. I go through all the games that way, and play Gears very high difficulty as well. And then some strategy games I'll put on medium or easy, just because it's a different experience for me. It just depends, and frankly, if I'm in the mood for a more difficult experience or an easy experience, or some games require more button mashing than others, and I might not want to have to spam A 200 times. And I mean, there's just so many differences, and then some people physically can't do some of the things that other people can. So being able to play them all in general is just should be it should be standard that everybody should be able to play games, not um, shouldn't be abnormal for everyone to be able to play them. And I mean, and then you could spin this off into the whole Dark Souls topic too. I mean, if you really wanted to go down that rabbit hole about the whole there can't be an easy mode because it defeats the purpose of the game, or there can be. I mean, that's not even our topic, but it's just a weird thing, and I just wish people would just enjoy what they like and be happy other people enjoy games too.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's like it's only the gaming community in general, or should I say, a part of the gaming community that like wants to gatekeep. I don't see people that like movies want to gatekeep or music, And when it comes to gatekeeping, remember gamers were gatekeeped out of a lot of pop culture talk for a long time. During the 90s, it was kind of looked down on to be a gamer. Early 2000s, same thing. But as gaming's gotten more popular, those gates have opened up. And everyone can talk about gaming. Literally everyone talks about gaming now. Whether it be the hardcore person playing Dark Souls or an MMO, or someone, playing a casual game like a mobile tap game or something like, I'm going to call Fortnite a casual game, but the masses play that. It's kind of casual. It still requires skill, but the thing is, we shouldn't gatekeep gaming. It's just ridiculous. Like, we adults, teenagers, kids, or whatever, stop gatekeeping. And when it comes to accessibility options, let's look at the whole collectible thing that I was talking about. So this was not. This annoyed me more than anything in my entire life, right? So Crackdown, released in 2007. There's around 300 agility orbs to find in that game. They spread all the way throughout the city, all in the hills. You have to find them, right? And every time you collect one, it notches up your marker one. So if you collected one, you get one, whatever. So that game comes out in 2007. I get 299 agility orbs, and I could never find the last one. Now, whenever you collected an agility orb, there was never a marker there saying, oh, you've collected it. Nothing on the map. So if I had to go and find it using a guide, I would have had to go and revisit everywhere I've ever been. And I had no energy for that. I just didn't want to do it. Fast forward to 2018, right? When we had the game backwards compatible and 4K on Xbox One X. I put the disc in, I started playing it, and I'm just jumping around for 5 minutes, just randomly, without even looking for it, and I see it on top of a one-story building. All those years later, I was so annoyed. Over a decade later, I found that last agility orb and unlocked the achievement. And that never should have been an issue if there was some of these options there to track things collectibles. Tracking collectibles should be the standard in games. And when it comes to another accessibility thing, I should say quality of life feature these games have now. So Guardians of the Galaxy has this as well. When you pause the game, it tells you time since last saved. Do you know how many times that saved me during Guardians of the Galaxy or Psychonauts? It literally just tells you on the screen when you pause. Why isn't that a thing in every game? In all platforms. It just should be. So, yeah, I don't think, the whole gatekeeping thing just needs to stop. And, who cares about accessibility options? And I know you said we weren't going to talk about Dark Souls, but I'm going to say it, right? I love Dark Souls. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. I have no problem with them putting an easy mode for people. Would I use it? No, I wouldn't use it. But if someone else wants to run through an easy, let them. I don't care. As long as the reviewer tells me up front at the top of their review what mode they played it on. That's the only stipulation I have. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I personally don't think it's a problem at all for those games. Those games are brutally difficult for a reason because that's what the developers created and their vision. But I don't see how an easier difficulty for those, since they're so brutally difficult and inherently, would be a problem because, you have to have really good sense of timing, parrying, dodging, management for different weapons, for different encounters, environment, all these factors that, frankly, some people have a much better grasp of than others. And so I don't see how lowering the odds a little bit with a difficulty to allow someone who is not as well versed or well trained in those aspects of gaming is such a problem. It would just allow them to go, "Hey, I beat this boss. I played through Dark Souls. It was really cool. I enjoyed fighting this boss or doing this or this or this." And you go, "Good job, you did it." It I don't see a problem with it. I understand why there's a sense of pride and accomplishment doing those the way they are because they are really, really difficult. But I someone being able to play through it on easier and getting through it and being happy about it doesn't detract from my enjoyment of or my sense of accomplishment for beating it the way it comes. So I don't know. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, it's way, man. Hopefully, just people tone down on the whole gatekeeping things. It's just tiring at the end of the day. Anyway, we have to move on because I was getting a bit angry at that. So anyway, let's move on. So Matt Smith is now the senior producer of Xbox Game Studios Publishing in Tokyo, Japan. They've also said to be working with small and big development studios over to Japan. Now that surprised me because everyone tells me every other week that Microsoft is unwilling to work with Japanese studios. Well, it's clear that they are. And, people have been wanting Microsoft for the longest time to work with more Japanese studios. And they need exclusive Japanese content for Game Pass and Xbox in general because, they've had it before. If Lost Odyssey came out today, it probably would be huge just because of what it is. But, I think when it comes to like Xbox and whether people like Japanese games or not is not the issue. It's like if you look at everything that's going to Game Pass, you have racing games, puzzle, first person shooter, third person, everything. You just don't have Japanese RPGs that much. And so the fact that they now like have a bigger studio arm over there, that's a good sign of things to come, man. Because like there are a vocal group of us online that talk about Japanese games. You were saying before you were playing Fatal Frame, like we like Japanese games, and we need more on Xbox. So like, what do you make of the whole publishing deal?
I think it's a godsend. It's huge news that they have a new head of portfolio for Japanese presence. So for him to work alongside Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, in their efforts to get more Japanese games and talent into the Xbox ecosystem, it's something we've needed for a very, very long time. It was an embarrassing black eye, frankly, that they didn't have much, if at all, any in a lot of those categories for the Xbox One generation. Like the 360, they had, Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, first party titles. They were incredible. Then the Xbox One was, kind of crickets. There wasn't a lot going there. But thankfully, by the end of the generation, new leadership, new tactics, new strategy, Game Pass. Their movements were going great, and you're seeing the fruits of their labor now, and it will continue to build up. I know Bloomberg had an article written. I don't know. The pandemic's kind of shifted my whole timeline on when things happened anymore, but it feels like a year or two ago, Bloomberg had a piece about they were talking with some Japanese studios, small and large, about acquisition over there. So definitely don't rule that out. They have Tango now, and then they can always expand that studio to have multiple locations to kind of quote unquote build more of a Japanese first party. And more titles is great if you want them and you're vocal about it, like Jamie and I are. Then play these games, buy these games, support them, tag the developers respectfully, and say, "Hey, we really like your games. Please continue to port them." I love Fatal Frame, and I would really like them to bring the older ones over to Xbox again. Whether it's making the first two that are BC on the 360, but not the one or the Series X or Series S. If they could make them BC again, that'd be awesome. Or make new ports, or a bunch of these JRPGs from other companies. Just show them that you're invested and you're interested, and be vocal. Be nice, but be vocal, and it it should help.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're saying like it does help, and the truth is, before we got the collection of Kingdom Hearts games, there were people on Twitter every day posting fan art saying they wanted the HD collection to come over to Xbox. This happened almost every day. People painted the consoles with the Kingdom Hearts art and stuff, and it's like it helps. Like I know for a fact, people at Square Enix like pay attention to that stuff. As much as I rant about Square Enix, they do actually pay attention to that kind of feedback. So be vocal, just be nice. It requires no effort to be nice. But them working more with Japanese studios, because recently we did find out that Microsoft is working a lot with indie teams. And indie teams can make really detailed games now. Like some of the best games this year are indie made, which we'll talk about in a bit. But like it's a good sign that Microsoft is like continuing to work with Japanese studios. I'm going to push until the day I die for that Lost Odyssey 2, right? I need that to happen. I need an Unreal Engine 5 Lost Odyssey 2. It just has to happen at some point. But it's a good sign. Like, just people need to keep pushing for it. And even if you don't like JRPGs, give one a go. I'll recommend some right now. Some super easy to get into ones. Dragon Quest 11 and Yakuza Like a Dragon. Two of the easiest Japanese RPGs you can get to that I can name off. Literally, so easy. But the gameplay is so good, story's great. But we just want more of it, And I think the more people that are vocal about it, it matters. It really does. Like, I'm sure there's more than the 12 of us, that go on weekly saying we need these Japanese games on Xbox because, the problem is that JRPGs and Japanese games in general, they have to be a regular thing on Xbox to sell. They can't just be a once in a blue moon thing because gamers are a creature of habit. We need to see things regularly in there to support them because if one thing every, let's say, 6 months pops in there, that's from Japan, well, that's going to stand out and people might think, well, I'm not going to get that because I might not get a sequel. And that's what people worry about. Like, during the entire Xbox One generation, we got one published JRPG, or I should say Japanese game from Xbox, and that was D4. That was a long time ago, and that was an episodic game by Swery. And he makes quirky, weird games, but they're really cool. Although his latest game, I need to put more time into, but extremely weird episodic game, which more people need to play. But yeah, it's a good sign of things to come because again, it just goes to show, Microsoft's willing to try. If you go back to 2016, Microsoft was investing next to nothing into first-party studios, content, or services, and look where they are now. So they are listening, and even Satya Nadella over at Microsoft have said they are all in on gaming. That also goes towards Japan. Why do you think they invest in so much money in getting these ports to Game Pass? Because that's how they advertise on Xbox in Japan. If you've noticed, all Xbox advertising for Japan recently, the word Xbox isn't in there. It's just Game Pass. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. Because they want that to be a recognizable brand. The whole X in general is a bad thing in Japan. It's like a bad omen or bad luck. So I can kind of understand them moving to the whole Game Pass, logo is the main thing, but it's just a good sign. We're going to see more games in the future. Okay, so now this is a newer topic I just thought of before we went on the show. Should Xbox reboot IP? Now, I bring up this topic because we'll get to the whole Sega thing in a bit. So Microsoft has Obsidian now. And this is just one example. They have Obsidian now, and one of the games they worked on in the past is Alpha Protocol. Alpha Protocol is an espionage RPG. So think Mass Effect, but Mission Impossible. That's essentially what Alpha Protocol is. And Sega owns that IP. But Obsidian has been interested in the past to maybe, not reboot the series, but do a spiritual successor. And you look at Microsoft's portfolio of games right now, and it's first-person shooters, first-person RPGs. They do have third-person games in development. So Compulsion's next game, third-person. Ninja Theory, third-person, all that stuff. But it's crystal clear that Obsidian, they still have, teams available that they could do this. Obsidian makes multiple games at the same time. They're working on, I think 3 games at the minute. Maybe 4. Because they have so many people just spread out. So it's like, Microsoft have all this IP in the back catalogue, which they aren't touching. But they also have all these teams that want to revisit, genres. And I don't see any problem with, these developers, trying something different. Because if you think about it, an espionage RPG, Mass Effect Mission Impossible, that was risky at the time. Granted, when it came out, it was buggy, the aiming was weird, and the ratings were all over the place, but all in all, they were trying to do something ambitious, something with multiple different choices that would affect, the outcome of the rest of the game. It was ambitious at the time. But think about what they could do now with modern technology in an espionage RPG. I don't know. I think people would be more open now more than ever to something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, amen. Sign me up for that. I mean, I could literally spend an entire episode talking about IPs that need to be rebooted or given a second chance on things. So, yeah, I definitely support reboots 100%. There was some there was some commotion about, when Perfect Dark was coming back. Some people were like, "But that's an old IP, this or that." But I mean, look at it. One, it's an established brand, and when Xbox is needing, going forward, they need some more marquee franchises that people can attach to and go, this is a brand I can associate Xbox with. Even though it made its heyday on the N64, it is still one of the most revered franchises. And it's very different, felt it's a genre need they need. And then, you see what the initiative and now Crystal Dynamics are going to be doing with it in the Tomb Raider style kind of reboot, espionage, you know, John Wick action, crazy, just super gadgety, going to be awesome. That's an idea of revitalizing an IP, so you're rebooting it, but at the same time, it is new. Where most of these people, a lot of gamers, weren't even old enough or around when that game came out, in the late 90s, early 2000s for the N64, and then, Perfect Dark Zero, the prequel, or whatever for the 360. So that one it's both an old and new IP, in my opinion. So it's the perfect line. And then you see there's rumors about Quake being rebooted um, by id Software. And, if recent job listings are to be believed and some rumor mill stuff, then maybe that's what they're working on right now as they take a break from Doom. That makes perfect sense as well. I mean, there's, the famous meme from Arrested Development, there's dozens of us. But Banjo, I know, I mean, it's a very vocal group. I know not everybody is into platformers, or they're like, mascot characters is such a 90s concept, but it just always feels kind of irksome when they talk about a need for family friendly games and we have this big void in the E-rated category or this or this. I'm like, you got Banjo sitting here in your basement just wasting. You've got these other IPs from Rare's catalog. I get if Rare doesn't want to do them anymore. That's cool. That's their professional personal choice as a studio. If they want to create new visions, go for it and prosper. I'm happy for you. But it doesn't mean that someone else shouldn't be given the opportunity. I know Battletoads was not a masterpiece, the newest one that came out. But I like the idea of it, and I like that they took a risk and let a smaller team that was interested take a crack at it. Um, No, and then that can lead to a joke about Crackdown 3 if you want, about how that one didn't work out so well. But I like the idea of letting other studios from outside Xbox take chances on these IP if they want to and they have an idea for it. And then if it goes great, maybe bring them into the family. Or if there's other internal studios that have an idea for a franchise, maybe let them take a crack at it. I know um, Tim at Double Fine has been adamant that he's not handling Banjo or Conquer. But, imagine Double Fine handling an older Rare IP from, their platformer days. Or, you know, if, some older shooter franchises or racing franchises from their backlog ended up at different studios. They could do some really awesome stuff. Alpha Protocol was a brilliant idea, not kind of stumbled across the finish line. I think a lot of that is to deal with they were a smaller independent studio at the time, and their budget was kind of wishy washy, and they kind of just had to make the best of what they could do. I don't think that would ever be an issue now. And maybe now that they're buddies with Sega on this new thing, maybe that could allow them to kind of renegotiate something with Alpha Protocol, or if they did a spiritual successor. But I'm all for older stuff coming back in new ways. I don't see that as a problem at all. I mean, not as old as new again.
Yeah, having options is always a good thing. Like you mentioned, like A-rated games, like as much as it might not be for everyone, it's good to have things like that in the store. Like you're saying, like Banjo Kazooie by Double Fine, that would be like genuinely great, especially if it was in like a similar art style where it's like claymation-ish. Like that would work so well. Like I don't really see like why people would have a problem with that. Like granted, do we need more third person, action adventure games or whatever? Yeah, but if you think about it, Microsoft does not have a platformer outside of Psychonauts, that is now. But it's like I think they should work on this stuff. They have the teams available, and speaking of Obsidian and Sega, there was once a time when Obsidian was working on an Alien RPG, which at the time it looked really cool. It never came out, but especially with things we'll talk about in a bit. Maybe we could see that one day, just shiny and all new next gen. But you mentioned Quake, and that goes into the next topic. But like Quake's pretty much going to get a reboot. There's been multiple hirings for a new IP, I should say, revisit an IP, and there's people from id Software that have teased it multiple times. And I think what id Software did for Doom was huge. They brought back a IP that was on the brink. If you think about it, Doom was a dead IP. Doom 3 came out in what 2004 or something, like a long time ago. And then we heard nothing. And then Doom 4 was actually a Call of Duty clone, but with demons, and then they completely scrapped it. And then they pretty much just kept the kill animations for what we know as Doom 2016. And Doom 2016 is a borderline first-person shooter masterpiece. So they managed to bring that game back from what it was in the 90s, this super fast, adrenaline-filled game. Made it feel like the 90s game, but made it feel modern. And it's like, they could do that for Quake, because Quake doesn't have much of an identity outside of its cool weapons and fast arena combat. So they could do that for that game. And like, I know a very small amount of people that listen to this podcast that will have played this, but so Doom had an open alpha, a closed alpha, months and months before release. And Doom's multiplayer fell off quick, and it fell off quick for these reasons. So Doom's closed alpha is one of the most fun multiplayer modes I've ever played. The time to kill was super fast, the respawns were instant, and it was just fun. And it was more like Quake. It wasn't much like Doom. So they changed it for the actual release. And that's why people stopped playing it. It just felt slow, sluggish. Respawning took a while. Time to kill was slow. And it was like complete opposite of what made the alpha fun. So if they can do for Doom, I should say do for Quake what they did for Doom, and make it feel like that multiplayer I've played and maybe 12 other people have played, like, that would be incredible. Like, Quake is a household name. Like, it's an old IP, but it's still a household name. And it's like, they could be doing what they did for Doom, which is huge. Like, Doom's a huge IP now. It was always a huge IP, but what they did with Doom and Doom Eternal, like, I don't know, like, I like the idea of having a Quake game with a campaign as good as Doom. Like, that just blows my mind. Like, think about what you could do now with super fast combat, and also we have 120 frames per second consoles now. And remember, when Quake Champions came out, they said they never want this game to release on things that can't do 120 frames. Look where we are now, you know? I don't know, what's your interest in Quake?
I'm 100% on board with Quake. I checking playing through the reimagined first one that they re-released after QuakeCon, and it's been brilliant, so much fun. Great to go back and check out a title like that, and how it runs buttery smooth on the Series X and looks awesome and upscaled. And Machine Games did a good collaboration, and they actually made new DLC expansions for it, story stuff to continue it on. And it just felt like a huge amount of effort and undertaking and a love letter to the franchise for it to just be a standalone and like, yeah, we'll do that for Quake 1 and then we're just gonna kind of sidestep it and forget Quake. Yeah, that felt very intentional to me, the way the amount of effort and labor and just craft they put into this, that it will be working on more Quakes, and that was a kind of a restart the car moment for Quake, and that a reboot will be in development. As there's been LinkedIn leaks and other teases from known folks in the industry that they're looking at people with interest and knowledge in fantasy and shooters and working on a beloved iconic franchise that's long running. Well, let's look at the franchises that it has had that fit the bill. Rage does not fit the bill. It's not a long running franchise. So take that one off. Wolfenstein. Theoretically, it could be that, but they gave it to Machine Games, and Machine Games has been working on it. unless they're so fully engrossed and all their resources are on Indiana Jones where they can't handle a Wolfenstein 3, I would assume and bet that Wolfenstein 3 in development would be being handled by Machine Games. Okay, so that leaves you Doom and Quake. Doom, they've been pretty clear publicly that the Slayer story is over for now and that they've moved on to quality of life and, horde mode and adding, just odds and ends things to the game experience. So that leaves you with Quake. And especially you go back into the lore of Quake, you've got runes and portals and creatures and knights and all these things that are mix of sci-fi and fantasy. And then you can, there's the alien storylines and Quake 4 and other things. So to me it feels like Quake is the IP that is coming back from it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially like Halo is like Microsoft's next big multiplayer game, and that's December. And if you think about it, like as much as people give Microsoft crap for the multiplayer everything, they only have one multiplayer first person shooter, and that's Halo. So it's like you know having Quake to mix things up a bit, because Quake it plays very different than Halo. Quake's all about strafing and jumping constantly. Like if you go into Quake playing it like Halo, you're gonna get demolished because it's just a different type of game. But it's like I can see them, making that a huge title because they're gonna want to rotate these things. I see a lot of people think that because one IP is big, they don't want anything else to be big. Similar thing with Disney. The amount of people I've seen in the past year that say that they don't want, and I say they Disney doesn't want Avatar 2 to be big because they want Marvel to succeed more. It's like it's the complete opposite. Disney want Avatar 2 to be massive, massive because more popular IP is better for everyone. And it's the same with gaming. So if Quake could be as big as Halo one day with a campaign, multiplayer and a horde mode or co-op, like that would be huge for Microsoft, and it'd be huge for Game Pass because if you look at these Game Pass adverts, like it's all about showing these big characters, these recognizable faces. You have, BJ Blazkowicz, you have Master Chief, you have Doom Guy, and you have Raz from Psychonauts. People know these faces now. So, like, if they can get a recognizable face on Quake, put them in ads, like, that's a big deal, And I know people that are listening, like, what does this matter to them? It just means another big game, What is wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. And honestly, I would love to play a Quake brought back in the vein of Doom, because Doom 2016 in particular, I don't know. I think I preferred Doom 2016. It just felt, I don't know, more focused. But that's just me. I know I'm probably in the minority with that group, but like them bringing back Quake could be one of the biggest things for Microsoft if done right. They could mess it up as anything could, but like it's a good sign going forward. But like looking at the rest of their IP, you mentioned Wolfenstein. There has been talk that Wolfenstein 3 has been in development for years, but every time I try and get information, it's just we're working on Indiana Jones. Wolfenstein 3 is almost like the worst kept secret, but also like no one's willing to talk about it type thing. But we'll see. We should hear more soon. A lot of people in the industry are pointing at this upcoming, 20th Xbox anniversary event. And I know we're not going to have any new announcements, but like Microsoft has been known to like subtly tease things. Be it a developer wearing a T-shirt, like Phil Spencer wears T-shirts all the time for things that happens. Hell, he had an Xbox Series S on his bookshelf, right? Which is why we always look at all these pictures now. So it's like you never know what's going to be announced or teased in what way. So I don't know. It's just a good sign of things to come, I think. More games the better. And anyway, so this is going to be a bit of a contentious topic, the Sega thing. So Microsoft and Sega are now going to be working together closely on technology, games, services, hardware, blah, blah, blah. Now, a lot of people have taken this and ran wild with it, and I get it. Like, I get wrapped up in it too, right? We think about the possibilities of Microsoft working with Sega, because a lot of people consider Xbox, the Dreamcast 2 or the Dreamcast spiritual successor. And a lot of Xbox fans we're Sega dudes. Like, that's just what happened, you know. The Dreamcast was, you know, a kind of a failure, and people moved on to the Xbox. Well, you know, whenever Sega gets brought up into the conversation, be it, you know, someone posting a controller that's the same shade of blue as Sonic on Instagram, you know, we link Sega with Microsoft every 6 months. Nothing happens, and we do this every time. But now they're going to be working together. And the thing is, Microsoft has, you know, some of the biggest server farms on the planet, you know. But one of the things people don't know about is that Sega for years has been wanting to make something called I'm doing air quotes, a super game. You know, they did a Yakuza MMO in the past. It wasn't successful. It did not take off whatsoever. But Sega has always wanted to come out with this huge game that has online elements that is like their big money maker. You know, be it their Final Fantasy 14 or their GTA. You know, they want a big game that uses cloud architecture. And they go on with Microsoft, you know. And a lot of people that are downplaying this are saying, well, Sony work with Microsoft and we're not getting any exclusive games from them. And that's true. But just because one thing is like that doesn't mean everything else is. You know, them strengthening bonds with Sega is better for everyone because that's how we see more deals broker. You know, people want Persona on Xbox, right? The foot's in the door now. Now, I'm not saying this is going to get an exclusive game. I'm not saying this is going to get a series of games from them, but it's like them working together more is a good thing. They've worked together in the past. Halo Wars 2 was developed by Creative Assembly, which is a Sega studio. So they've worked together before and they will in the future. I just think I don't want people to jump the gun, you know? Like, the hype's all there. People want to talk about it. Like, you know, before I ramble on more, what do you think, Logan?
Yeah, it's. I understand why some people are quick to, try to pour a huge bucket of water on it and try to make it like, oh, this is just the Sony, cloud thing, and, they're not getting any games from Sony. It's purely just to help them with cloud, this or that. And then others are running to it means, Sega is going to be first party in next year or this. I mean, it's going to be somewhere in the middle, most likely. I mean, the fact that Sarah Bond is involved and she was particularly mentioned and Xbox was particularly mentioned instead of just Microsoft, and that they're talking about making super game and developing IP and new experiences makes it more Xbox focused, much more so than the Azure and the Sony deal. Whether that leads to exclusives or Game Pass, launches or whatnot remains to be determined. But it definitely feels like a more personalized Xbox centric relationship than the other. And hopefully, like you said, their foot's in the door. This can only be a good thing, develop relationships, and who knows? Maybe there is a scenario where Xbox could acquire Sega and they have their Japanese presence. Bam. Maybe they go, hey, could we work on some of these IP you guys have just sitting there? Maybe put them in Game Pass. Or maybe make a deal where Persona finally comes over. Or, their games stay multi-plat, but they launch in Game Pass. Just, there's all kinds of possibilities. And frankly, right now, we don't know anything. We're just sitting here throwing ideas at the wall and hoping one of them sticks. At the end of the day, most of us have no idea what's really going on with it, and we're just making educated guesses. So I would just say check back in a couple years, and then you should have more clear concept on what's going on. The prospects and ideas of Xbox and Sega working closely together on anything makes me happy.
Yeah, nail on the head, man. Like, it's a good sign. And here's the thing, like, it's called a mutual beneficial agreement. Like, if they working together on this super game Sega's wanted to make for years, like Sega's wanted to make this super game since GTA 5 came out. Like, if you look at all the big publishers, like including Capcom and Sega, like they all want to have that one big game that makes them money, granted, every year without fail. and it's like they want to make that game. Monster Hunter is on the right track to becoming that game. Sega doesn't have that. If you look at all of Sega's games, despite people loving their games, they do not make like the amount of money people might think. They don't have that, super game, quote unquote. So like their mutual beneficial agreement basically gets them that game. They're not going to work together on this server architecture for an exclusive, or I should say a game, if they don't have access to it. And a lot of Sega games have been appearing in Game Pass. And Game Pass is one of Microsoft's biggest staples now for Xbox. Like that's just how it is now. It's been that way for years now, and it's always going to be. So Game Pass always comes up in the conversation because it matters. So like Yakuza Like a Dragon never launched in Game Pass, because the previous games, 0 through 6, were Game Pass. That was getting people used to this genre, used to the franchise. And then when Like a Dragon came out, it popped up pretty high on the store in the UK. So it's like that tactic works. Like Sega seems to be the publisher willing to work most with Xbox because they've been working for decades now. Microsoft Xbox turns 20 years old this year. And if you remember, a lot of the big games on the original Xbox that people remember, all developed by Sega. Like, it was pretty much a Sega console, just all in but name, People's like love for that machine come from Sega games, outside of Halo and stuff. But like, it's a big deal, and yeah, I think people are downplaying it because they're afraid, like they don't want Microsoft to have some sort of good relationship with Sega, which I don't know. It's a bit of a weird thing, And I've also seen spaces pop up about this as well. It's like they almost sound scared that Microsoft may work with Sega on a game and may have access to a game. It's like, no, like I'm sure whatever game they're working on will be multi-platform. But them having access to more of Sega's like, workforce, again, we got Halo Wars 2 out of a Sega team. That was a big deal. And even back then in 2015, I thought that was, a huge announcement. So it's a good thing for Sega fans because you're probably going to get more Sega games in the future. We're probably going to see more ports. Like, ports are almost guaranteed to show up in Game Pass, We still have things like Resonance of Fate that hasn't showed up on Xbox yet. And, let's talk about backwards compatible games. That's always going to be a topic. Like, we're rumored to be getting more backwards compatible games soon. And a lot of them that people want are made by Sega, Binary Domain. Endless amount of Marvel games, which, licenses are all weird, but like there's still a lot of Sega games people want to be backwards compatible. And it's like this mutually beneficial agreement can just work towards other things. Like Sarah Bond and the Xbox team wouldn't be pushing this harder than they are if it wasn't for nothing. Like when they signed the deal with Sony, and I say they being Microsoft, like Satya Nadella posted a picture and them talking about Sony. No one at Microsoft really talked about it. They said congratulations, and that's it. So I think, people like hating on the situation are just doing it because they don't have a life really. They just, like bashing things. But it's like, it's okay for Microsoft to succeed, and it's okay for Microsoft to get Japanese games. That might be a shock to some people, but it's okay. It really is, And the fact that we're going to see more, Yakuza games. And here's the thing, like, this is no secret. Like, I talk about specific games 2 days before they announce for a reason. Like Judgment and Lost Judgment. Like, there's more games coming by Sega and Japanese studios to Xbox. Like, it'll happen. Just, enjoy it. Don't put down other people's hopes and, wishes or whatever. Like, this is a good Sega deal. And it'll just make Xbox, available to another good game. Because Sega does make good games. If anyone listening hasn't played Yakuza Like a Dragon, I'm going to talk up that game all day. That's a fantastic game. Like, really genuinely good JRPG. And yeah, that's available on PlayStation and PC as well. But like, more people need to play that. Like, it's just a good situation for Microsoft to be in with a Japanese publisher that they're willing to talk on a daily basis. Because, let's face it, Microsoft posts pictures of them talking to Sega execs all the time. Like, this has been happening years. Like, Aaron Greenberg is always posting Sonic stuff. People over at Xbox is always posting about Sonic. So it's like, there's clearly a brand recognition thing when it comes to Sega and Microsoft. Like, is it just me or do you see that as well?
I 100% see it. I even tweeted about it the other day about, like you mentioned earlier, basically Xbox was the Dreamcast 2. And, there is a, Doctor Strange multiverse, change of fate scenario where Xbox acquired Sega at the beginning of the OG Xbox. They were close at one point. You can read some articles dated from a while back, but they've always had a really good relationship with them. They were the one Japanese publisher that they've maintained strong ties with. They're improving with others, but Sega has been the one significant one that they can count on. I mean, not everything from Sega has come to Xbox, and that's unfortunate. Particularly their Atlas branch, which is kind of head scratching, but
Yeah.
I mean that's a whole nother topic. But for the most part, Sega and Xbox have been, hand in hand good friends. So an alliance partnership makes all the sense in the world. It's a further step in their relationship, and who knows how it develops. Could develop into something even more, or even if it doesn't, and it's just a partnership with some games here and there doing this and that. It's a great thing. And then as for BC, I know you and me are huge advocates of it, but there's a huge library of Sega titles that a lot of people would love. You've got Resonance of Fate, Binary Domain. You've got Jet Set Radio, which I would call pie in the sky because of the music and licensing nightmares for that game. But that one's out there. You have the old Outrun games. You have Gun Valkyrie. Yeah, I mean, there's so many Sega games on the OG and 360 that haven't made the cut yet. And if they did, people would be flabbergasted and just filled with joy. So just good energy for that would be awesome.
Yeah, anyone that's taken away from this situation and making it a bad thing, like they really reaching them signing a deal with Sega. It's not a bad thing. Like it's a good thing. But like Matthew the Smith Dog has just said in the chat, a friendly reminder: there's a MS reward quest available this week for Halo Wars 2. Now, this topic I didn't have planned, but I want to talk about it quick. So, Logan, do you use Microsoft Rewards?
Absolutely. I've paid off a bunch of months of Game Pass Ultimate with that, or I've gotten I'm stored up and can get $100 gift card every once in a while and use it on a sale. It pays for itself. It's awesome.
Okay, so like it saves people money, and I know people that are listening and people that follow me on Twitter, like they always seem surprised when I post how many points. Like I post every few months, like how many points I've saved, and people genuinely seem surprised. And for people listening, I have not paid for Game Pass in about a year and a half. Like I do that just for Microsoft Rewards. Like, and I've saved for multiple games. So this year, for Microsoft Reward points, I've bought, let's say, Sniper Elite Remastered, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and Guardians of the Galaxy, all from points because I've saved. Now, there's multiple ways to save points, and a lot of people still don't realize. All you have to do is just search on Bing. And bear in mind, everything I say right now, you can do the whole thing in about 2 minutes, right? And depending on what time zone you live in, it resets every day at midnight, at least in the UK. It might be different in different territories, but like every time it hits midnight, I do everything out of the way. It takes less than 5 minutes. You do Bing searches on mobile and on Xbox. You can do it all that way. You can do quizzes on the Bing app, right? Which nets a lot of points. So basically, you can get around 300 points per day. If you play a game on Game Pass and then open the Game Pass app on your phone, you get more points that way. There's quests on mobile. So this week's is play 5 Blitz cards in Halo Wars 2. That literally takes 20 seconds. And you get points that way. And there's different quests each week. And they encourage you to play different games. One of them is break 1,000 blocks, basically, in Terraria. Takes 5 minutes. So I've been doing this for months, just as a little experiment, to see if I can pay for Game Pass and save for multiple games. And I have. Last year I got £100 off my Xbox Series X just by saving. You know, the Xbox Series X was announced December 19th or something,
Mm.
2019, and I saved from then to the pre-order day, and I got £100 off. So I got a £349, Xbox Series X. Like that was a steal, But yeah, you can literally pay for your monthly Game Pass Ultimate by just doing this every single day. Takes less than 5 minutes, and here's the thing: you also get entered into contests, things for like winning controllers, winning consoles and stuff. But with it, encourage you to play more games. You actually discover things that you may have not liked. I never used to play Terraria. I used to think Terraria was this weird looking 2D Minecraft. And I've put a few hours into it now because I find it weirdly relaxing. But it's like, it's a good way to discover games, but you get money, I've seen people like kind of have a go at me for like, saying, oh, I waste so much time. It's like, is it wasting time saving money? No. It isn't. Like, if I can get £100 off an Xbox Series X across 1 year, granted I didn't do all my quests that year, but it's like, you can save a lot of money. And in a time when everyone's like, not at their best wallet wise, like saving a little bit of cash is a good way to go about it. So you have your Game Pass sorting you out game wise, and you have your Xbox, reward points going towards other games. So it's like, I recommend everyone do this. And it benefits everyone else. The more people that do this right now, it benefits everyone. So right now on your Xbox app, I should say on Xbox, there's a rewards app. Open it, right? And you can claim throughout the week over 2,500 points. That works out to around, I don't know, £2.90 or something. But basically, in combination with your 300 points per day, and the points you get off, Game Pass quests, you're going to be able to get your Game Pass Ultimate in the game when you save up a few times a year. So it's like, I recommend people do it. Like, how many times have you paid for your stuff out of this, Logan?
Oh, I've honestly lost count. I've bought a bunch of months of Game Pass Ultimate from it. I've gotten a bunch of gift cards of value for Xbox. I've gotten 100 at least once, and then several 25s or a 5 here, 10 here. It allows me to buy a bunch of games, and then there's so many quests you can do Game Pass that affect your Microsoft Rewards balance as well, where it's like they're tailored for certain things, like October, obviously Halloween. There's a bunch of horror game themed things. So like Evil Within, kill 5 enemies. I mean, okay. And then Resident Evil, find 7 items, or you know turn on Dead Space. That doesn't take much. And then there's daily quests, and then weekly, monthly. They all add up quite a bit, and then get achievements. It'll add the points. It's just, and then you've got your quizzes, your polls, your Bing searches. Sometimes there's a sale, and if you buy a certain game that's coming out or a game that's on the sale, you'll get points for that. Like, for example, they'll probably do for Forza Horizon 5. They'll probably do a sale for that, to where if you buy it, then you'll get like a certain amount of points or something like that. It it just pays for itself, and it's awesome. It's been a game changer for sure.
Yeah, it's literally free money. Like, I'm looking at this month's like Game Pass quests, and we have earn 3 achievements in Forza Horizon 5. That's 150 points. Kill 40 zombies in State of Decay 2. That's 75 points. 1,000 blocks in Terraria, 75. Win one club goal, club match in eFootball PES. Yeah, I probably won't do that. But yeah, get 2 kills in Payday 2. It's like stuff like that, and it's like, it's free money, and it encourages you to play other games. And the thing is, most of these games you can activate in the cloud. So one of them was play No Man's Sky. Well, just boot it up on the cloud, and you get You get the Microsoft reward points. I mention this right now because the amount of people that seem surprised by the amount of points I save is ridiculous. Like Microsoft doesn't talk about it, which is weird because Microsoft makes more money by more people going to Bing, and that's how you get a lot of points by going to Bing. So it seems weird that Microsoft doesn't talk about it. But yeah, it pays for your Game Pass Ultimate every single month without failure. And right now, you can, other than the 2,500 points you can get, about once or twice a year, Microsoft does this thing where throughout an entire month, you have up to 10,000 like gamer score you can get, and for every gamer score you get, Microsoft will actually give you, Microsoft reward points. So if you can get 10,000 achievement points across 1 month, they'll literally give you 10,000 reward points. That's £10. So yeah, I recommend more people pay attention to this stuff and do it because again, you're going to be able to save even more money. So other than saving money off, Game Pass in general, you're going to be able to buy games out of this when you save in the long term. So yeah, I highly recommend everyone do that because again, it's free money. I'm recommending people to save money. Anyway, we have to move on. So the Halo Battle Royale thing came up because Dr. Disrespect talked about it on his live stream. Now, I have no problem with Dr. Disrespect. I think he's very entertaining. His whole 80s throwback.
Fantastic mustache.
Yeah, the fantastic mustache, which is real. He's a good entertainer. And I like the whole 80s throwback thing, Maybe it's because I played too much Vice City as a teenager, but it's like, I think he's entertaining. However, his take about Battle Royale was off. And, I've talked about this before, but I want to be crystal clear about it. Halo Infinite does not need Battle Royale. And whenever I say that, people think I'm saying something else. I'm not saying Halo won't have Battle Royale or shouldn't have Battle Royale. I'm saying it doesn't need it. If a game needs Battle Royale to be good, then it's not a good game. Well, first I'll go into what he said. He said that the game will be dead in 3 weeks after launch, which is bloody stupid because the beta alone, the tech test for Halo Infinite multiplayer, had more viewers than Warzone. And that was one map. It's weird because, like, I've noticed there's this cycle of people that want, or should I say, need Halo to have this Battle Royale. And it's these streamers that live off Warzone. And so, I've spent the past few weeks paying attention to some of these streamers and how they act. And it's like, first off, I think they do a fantastic job entertaining people. I don't think they're bad people. I think they're extremely entertaining. One of which being Tim the Tatman. Cool guy. Seems really entertaining. Like the guy, right? But when I was watching one of his streams, he was getting sick of Warzone. And rather than go straight to Call of Duty multiplayer, he turned it off and went to Apex. And everyone in this chat was saying Apex, Fortnite, Warzone, Apex, Fortnite, Warzone. And there's this group of people now that only enjoy Battle Royale games. I watched Dr. Disrespect play Resident Evil 8, and all of his chat, Apex, 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 Warzone, Warzone, Fortnite, Warzone, Warzone. And it's like, there's these people that, like, they know their bread and butter, like, mainly are these Battle Royale fans. But the truth is, these shooters were massive before Battle Royale. Modern Warfare came out in October 2019. Well, Warzone didn't come out till 5 months later. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 was like the second most played thing on Twitch that month. And if you look at the top 5 things on Twitch now, you have GTA, Minecraft, Just Chatting, Valorant, and something else. But it's like none of them are Battle Royales. Like, none of them. Hell, the most watched thing on Grand Theft Auto's Twitch is role-playing. The RP server. It's like, that's the most popular thing. It's like, I don't know. But before I want more, what's your opinion on the whole, like, Battle Royale thing?
My opinion on Battle Royale is that it's fine. It's fun. I enjoy it from time to time. It's not my main for multiplayer, but I definitely see that it's popular, and I'm glad people enjoy it. But I definitely don't think it's this thing that must be present for something to succeed. Halo was here decades before it even was a concept or becoming a huge phenomenon for multiplayer. I don't think Battle Royale is necessary for Halo to succeed. I think Halo could have a Battle Royale and it be awesome part of the game. Yeah, absolutely. Sign me up. If they have an optional Battle Royale mode that I could play, I would definitely check it out. It probably wouldn't be my main, but I prefer traditional Slayer or team stuff. But if there was a Battle Royale, I would check it out. But I think it might help draw some people that are, Battle Royale junkies. They're all about that. But I don't think by any means or any stretch of the imagination that Halo without Battle Royale would be DOA, dead on arrival. I think that's laughably ludicrous. But, um, and I think part of that is, look the corners where these come from. A lot of people, they know their audience, they know their channel. What does the channel want? This is what the channel wants. We're going to hype that up. If something ain't got it, then that's something, ain't got it. It's not going to be what we want. So I don't know. I definitely don't think it's a problem at all if they add it. In fact, I think it'd probably be a good thing if it had it as an option. I would absolutely not make it the main thing. Like replace other things. That would be blasphemy for Halo. But if it was an option for people in Halo, I think that'd be great. And if they decide, it's not worth the trouble, we're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, that's perfectly fine too. Halo will be great either way.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before, but like the Halo fan base is as split as Star Wars. And I love Star Wars. In fact, I love all the films for like some reason. But like Halo's been split for years. It really has, and before 4 as well. Like Halo Reach separated people, and hell, I've even seen people argue about the animated film. So it's like people will argue about Halo day and night, no matter what it is. But despite the fact that it's got sprint and you can grab ledges and it's got a grappling hook, Halo Infinite multiplayer brought everyone together. Like everyone online. Content creators, general fans absolutely loved the multiplayer. In fact, there's Call of Duty, content creators I watched that they genuinely liked Halo Infinite's multiplayer because it was different and it was fresh. And it's like, people love that multiplayer. And the reason why I have this big, I don't want to say a pushback against Battle Royale. It's more of a worry, right? Battle Royale, I always get told, Jamie, it's just another mode. They are right. Everyone is right that says that. However, it's not the reality. Call of Duty Modern Warfare comes out in October 2019. Warzone comes out in 2020. I think it was March. All the content creators, all the streamers, everyone, including the developers themselves, stop talking about Modern Warfare. Every focus of that game turned straight to Warzone. Black Ops Cold War had all this hype, unbelievable amount of hype, and then the game came out, and all the content creators moved straight back to Warzone. And like, that's my biggest worry. It's like Halo's core being 6v6 or whatever. Like that should be what Halo is. Halo Arena multiplayer, big team battle, capture the flag, everything. That should be the core of Halo. But the problem is that I know for a fact that let's say this game did launch with Battle Royale. The general audience would just watch this Battle Royale mode and it would be its own thing within 5 months, because there's this like large group of people that will only watch Battle Royale games. Not everyone, but large group. But I think like with Halo being as good as it is now, with its, moment-to-moment gameplay, with its grappling hook and its vehicles and new weapons and new gun handling. It's like, it's brought fans back, new and old, to the franchise to the point where it being free to play, it's going to be one of the biggest multiplayer games of the year, if not the biggest multiplayer game of the year, because it's free to play and Halo being as in good a shape as it is. And it's like, I don't want Battle Royale to deter from that, because let's face it, we all know that if Battle Royale came out with Halo Day 1, nobody would be watching Capture the Flag on Twitch. Nobody would be talking about capture the flag. Every conversation would be battle royale, battle royale, and like these content creators, like Doctor Disrespect and Tim the Tatman. Again, I think they both entertaining. But when I watch them stream Halo Infinite, every time they died in team deathmatch, they were acting almost as if the game was over. And that was weird. It's like, no, you have more than one life. It's team deathmatch, TDM. Like, it's been around for decades, but like battle royales completely changed how people play games. And it's like, I don't want Halo to become another Call of Duty, because Call of Duty's multiplayer was the biggest thing for over almost 2 decades, right? Well, 2006, 7 till 2019, but like Call of Duty multiplayer is the biggest thing. And nobody talks about standard COD multiplayer now because of Warzone. Standard COD multiplayer is dead. Nobody talks about it at all. You know, one of the big streamers I watch, Vicstar123, never plays standard COD anymore. It's just Warzone. Yeah, and that's my biggest concern. I will be this concerned every single time. I don't care, but like I love Halo. I think Halo has the potential to be like the biggest game of the year. You know, especially with free-to-play multiplayer. Its campaign that looks this good. The footage right now, the campaign looks so good. I don't care what anyone says. Like, the potential for this game this year is ridiculous. It's bloody ridiculous. I don't know. Have you got anything else left on the topic?
That I'm not the biggest battle royale guy, but I'm not big into watching streams of it or anything like that. But if they added it, it wouldn't upset me, but I would want, caveats that, it's just an additional, not the main focus, this and that. But as you said, like if they added it, then there is the risk of that becoming a huge focus of it online, when there's all these other modes that are so brilliantly done and handled, and you don't want them to be detracted from. So in the end, I think it would probably be better without it and just left off separate. Just don't let that ever become a seed of thought of doubt in the franchise. But I don't think it would be the end of the world if it added it. But in the end, Halo has finally kind of unified the fan base, like you said, and there's genuine goodwill towards 343 right at the moment, which has, not always been the case. So it would feel like bad vibes if something interfered with that. So I think I'm kind of coming around, and I kind of think I would just not put it in there personally.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that 343 listens to the feedback by the general public. You know, like these top streamers, like they keep saying the game's going to die without it. It's not. If a Halo beta can, outdo COD on Twitch, I think the game's going to be fine. You know, I think people want something fresh that isn't just Battle Royale. And like what Steve Conrad just said in chat, like Halo Infinite Warzone Firefight. That would be better than, Battle Royale. I loved Warzone Firefight. That game was so much fun. Personally, I think co-op modes, we need more of them. But, that's a story for a different day. Anyway, final topic, and this is another contentious thing, is that Game Pass, Game Pass seems to scare people for some reason. One, saving money and playing more games is a bad thing, apparently. But over time, we've found out that, as Sarah Bond recently said in an interview or presentation, that more people that play Game Pass games play more games and willing to buy more games. And that's when you have people doing these spaces online talking about sales figures. And you've probably seen it as well, Logan, that people will bring up sales from the UK. Now, everyone that complains about Xbox, game sales in the UK, don't do their research. There's tons of different variables when it comes to this stuff. I've noticed that Xbox fans mainly go digital. They really do. And I've noticed that Microsoft, they don't talk about digital numbers, A lot of companies, Nintendo, they don't do, digital most of the time. But it's like, Microsoft is fine, their game, like they wouldn't still be getting third party games if games were generally selling bad. There's generally more PlayStations out there. There's over 100 and X million, PlayStation 4s, and there's 13 million PlayStation 5s. There's 8 point something million Xbox Series consoles. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy got brought up in the conversation. It's like they didn't bring in the fact that digital games aren't counted. They didn't bring in the fact that UK sales don't make any sense at the minute, by the way, because most people are unwilling to, shop in, stores physically now. Most people buy the games off Amazon. If you buy a game off Amazon, or at least search for a game on Amazon, the Xbox version never shows up. Like, if anyone from the UK is listening, just search Guardians of the Galaxy game. You are guaranteed to see the PlayStation version. You have to do an extra search for the Xbox version. It's all over the place. We have one mainline video game retailer in the UK, and that being Game, most of which shut down. And ever since the pandemic started, it's like a lot of people went digital. Like, why? Like, I'm a disc person, right? I have a pile of discs on the shelf. I love having physical games, but over the past year, I've looked at it and thought, why not? Why not make a slow transition to maybe, half and half? And I comfortably buy games digital all the time now. I bought Guardians of the Galaxy digitally. Originally, I was going to get it on disc because I like the Steelbook, because I like Steelbooks. But it's like, why? Like, I can just buy digitally. I can have access to it whenever the hell I want. Like, I'm one of the biggest Mass Effect fans on the planet, and I bought it digitally. Me, big Mass Effect nerd, that had a cover printed out. Like, I was going to put an alternate cover in because I love Mass Effect that much, and it's like, no, I got it digitally. So you have to like look at it like that. Like, there's all these different variables. Like, you can't just like look at one game and say, oh, it's selling less on Xbox, therefore nobody's buying games now. It's like Microsoft has said in the past, like, these games are selling more. Ubisoft in the past has said that people on Microsoft consoles buy more games. Like, these are things both of these companies have said, and people are arguing every single week about Game Pass. But even though Sarah Bond did come out and say that 30% more people are playing games because of Game Pass, there's this deep-seated issue that people genuinely don't like Game Pass, and that's what I just can't get around. Spaces pop up every day. We have podcasts every week that complain about Game Pass, and people just don't like Game Pass, and it's either because their favorite platform doesn't have a service like it, where they put in new games all the time, or it's because they have a genuine worry that's going to change the industry. And for that, I have to say, no, it's not going to change the industry. Like, it's changing in a way. Game Pass it's letting more people have access to a library of games for less money. It's a business model. It's not the business model. Microsoft having this one way to play games isn't their only way. This isn't like Netflix, right? With Netflix, you can subscribe and stream to watch a film or TV show, or you can download it and watch it offline. But you can't buy it outright. On Xbox, you can buy the game and play it. You can buy the disc and play it. Or you can stream it. Or you can get it off Game Pass. Like, you have different options, but like, people have this genuine worry about Game Pass, and it's just weird, and it makes no sense, because we live in a time when people are worried about Game Pass, where you can pay, £15 a month, £10 a month to have access to a library of games, some of which are huge RPGs, and these same people are championing £70 games. That's $100. These people are championing $100 games over Game Pass, and that is what blows my mind. Like, I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, the concept of Game Pass being the boogeyman has always really made me laugh. It's just really, really just ridiculous. Just, it's just this evil entity that's taking over everything, is going to lead to monopolies, and it's going to overthrow the establishment of how game media is held dear. And it's just, oh, get a grip. My goodness. It, it's a good thing. It's helping, and like you astutely pointed out, you can still buy these games. No one is stopping you. You're not signing some contract that says, I quote unquote will not buy game. You can buy the games, and it clearly says that. and you get discounts for them. Like, I've bought more games since I got Game Pass than probably before, honestly. And I bought a lot before. I mean, because I get 20% discount. And then you get discount on DLC and expansions. And it has changed the industry in some regards because it's allowed more creativity and risks and allowed people to try some things they wouldn't normally try. There have been a few games on there that, if I had seen in a store, I might have just been like, what on earth is this? But then I'm like, it's on Game Pass. I'll try it. It's free. It's not going to hurt me. I'm like, you know what? I like it. And then I buy it. It's just, it is what it is. And it's just hysterical that it ruffles so many feathers, this notion that you can subscribe to something for a price a month and that somehow devalues the legitimacy of enjoyment or the experience that you subscribed to something and played it versus I shelled out set amount of money to a certain store to buy their game that they charge at an upcharge. It's goofy. That's my thought.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know what these people want. Like, can you imagine the outrage if Microsoft came out with a public statement tomorrow and said, "Hey, by the way, we end in Game Pass"? Like, the the chaos online would be ridiculous because you have people that are saving money, and I know for a fact that people that complain about Game Pass, they use it. They use it and save money, but they still complain about it because it's all they have to talk about because they have no personality. But it's like Game Pass is just a part of the business model. Like, you get notified when games are about to leave. Like, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is about to leave Game Pass, but you can get a discount and then own the game forever. So it's like you're not losing out and you're saving money in the end run. And then here's the thing, indie developers seeing a massive success for this. One of the games being Descenders, which is like a mountain biking type game. And, the developer has seen a massive success because of that game. A genre which most people probably hadn't played, and they've played it because of Game Pass, and they've been buying it more than other platforms because of this service. And it's I like Game Pass isn't this boogeyman, like you said, and it's like maybe next Halloween, Aaron Greenberg should just dress up as a Game Pass logo and scare some people, I don't know, man. It's weird. Like, I don't understand. We live in a world where people are against a streaming service, or I should say a gaming service like Game Pass, and champion £70 games. That blows my mind, and it's sad really because we have gamers right now like stuck in the house or working limitedly that they can't make the money they would normally, and they can save money this way. It's just sad. It's sad. And here's the thing. Because of Game Pass, we've pretty much been guaranteed to get other games like, Yakuza. Yakuza like a Dragon. May have not launched on Game Pass, but 0 through 6 did. And it's like, that's a big deal. So I think that, I don't think Game Pass is going to change the industry as in everything's going to be that way. Like, look at the digital streaming model, like for movies and TV, Netflix put everything in there day one. Disney Plus, they don't. They wait a while. And you have Amazon Prime, one of the biggest companies on the planet. All their movies, day one. In fact, one of their movies came out day one this year was The Tomorrow War. That was like an over $100 million action film. I loved it, by the way. But it's like, that launched day one in the service. And it's like, it's okay for companies to like change things up a bit. We've been playing games the exact same way. Hey, Double Barrel, boom. But it's like, we've been playing games, at least I have, all my life, since I was 2. The game model has not changed. People have gone out to the store, bought it, played it, resold it, or bought it digitally. There's been no change. Every other medium has changed. The music industry changed ages ago with the form of Napster making iTunes become about, and then songs start selling for $1 a piece on iTunes, changing the complete music industry. And then over time, more streaming service came along for songs. And now Spotify is the number one model for music. Everyone listens to music that way now, So you have that. And then you have the TV and movie industry moving towards day one or like just streaming altogether. So it's like, gaming was this. Even the book industry changed to ebooks, and it's like gaming was this one medium that didn't change for decades and decades, and now it has. People are scared. They're either scared and they don't want it to succeed, or they don't want Microsoft to have any success from it. Because let's face it, if other companies if Nintendo did this, people would eat it up. They really would. Like, imagine if Nintendo said tomorrow all their new games would be launched in Nintendo Online day one. That would break the news. People would be eating that up. People wouldn't be concerned about the industry. People would just be, paying for the service. And it's a shame because Game Pass has saved so much money for me. Like, I'm buying more games because of the money I'm saving. Like, games that don't show up in Game Pass, like, Guardians, if I didn't have the Microsoft points for it, I would have bought it. Like, buying games is not an issue. It's the fact that people are saving money. And I don't know, man. It makes my blood boil because I've been covering content for years now, and it's like people champion £70 games, and that I just can't get over it. Like, imagine tomorrow in the US, Logan, if games went up to $100. Like, can you imagine the reaction?
I would be sweating it big time. That would be very bad news. It would make Game Pass even that much of a bigger deal for me. And I'll put a disclaimer: we are not shills for Game Pass. We are not paid. We are not endorsed in any way. We're just being honest, and that it's helpful. And it. Yeah, man, if games went up that much, that would be brutal.
Yeah.
So yeah, Game Pass is very much helpful.
Yeah, and for people that are just tuning in, like, at the end of the Xbox 360 generation, games were around £37 to £39. And then when the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation came across, games pretty much all of a sudden jumped to £45 and £50. And then throughout the generation, £55. And then literally a year and a half ago, £60. And then the second PlayStation announced $70 games in the UK, I went onto Games website and looked at all their prices for next generation games, and everything, literally everything, went up to £70. That's almost double across one generation. And that's why I talk about Game Pass. I'm not sponsored by Microsoft or Game Pass. Like, I'm not chilling for Microsoft or Game Pass. In fact, I think they should, vary things up a bit. They need to get more bigger games in their day one, despite the fact they have more big games coming. But it's like, the fact that I have to pay almost double what I was during the 360 generation is preposterous. And the fact that I'm using preposterous in general makes me mad. I should not be using that word. I'm from the Northeast. Like, come on. $100 for a game? No. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy, thankfully, was £60. I was happy to pay that, even though that was out of Microsoft points. But it's like, I don't see why people should champion expensive games over services that offer value. And then I see people arguing online what the word value means. It's like, I don't like swearing on the show, and I won't, but like, I'm from the Northeast, I'm trying to hold it back. It's like, people should be okay with these services because we're okay with Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Xbox Live Gold, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, every service, Apple Plus, Apple TV, everything. Everything's okay except gaming doing this one thing, and it's weird. It's gamers doing this gatekeeping thing for how they want people to purchase and play games. And I've seen that today again, by the way, in a space online. People complaining about how they enjoy their games, be them buying them or getting them via Game Pass. The truth is, at the end of the day, if you play in a game that you enjoy, it shouldn't matter. Do you stream it via xCloud and you enjoy it? That's awesome. Have you bought it on Game Pass? Awesome. Have you bought it in general? Have you bought it on PlayStation, on Nintendo, or PC? Awesome. But it's like, Game Pass scares people. And it's weird. And it's been around for about 4 years now, and people are still scared of it. And it blows my mind. It really does. But yeah, that's been me ranting about Game Pass for a bit. As someone that's on social media a lot, I just see these spaces pop up and my blood boils because people are just arguing and shouting all the time without having genuine discussion about what's important and what's working in the industry, despite the fact Game Pass has been around for 4 years and it works. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. That's been it for today's show. I've been a bit ranty. Par for the course when Square Enix and Game Pass come up. But yeah, have you got anything coming up soon, Logan?
Oh, just really, really excited for the 20th anniversary, um, November 15th. I expect a great show. I'm excited for it, and I think it'll be a great look back at what made Xbox Xbox. Maybe a look ahead towards, what's going to keep making Xbox great for the next 20 years. And then the Game Awards is going to be big time as well. So, all in all, it's shaping up to be an exciting month. It's my birthday month as well. We got Thanksgiving coming up. It's a great time, man.
Yeah, and the Xbox event is just under 2 weeks away. So and I know the whole backwards compatibility thing is probably like on a lot of people's minds because there's two things that's probably going to be shown at that event: is backwards compatible titles and more information on games we already know about. So I'm just saying hypothetically, Fable, Hellblade 2, games we know about, we probably may see again. But all in all, it's a celebration of Xbox. Xbox being 20 is a huge deal. I remember the original Xbox launching and people not knowing what it was going to be like. Would it do well? Who was it for? That was a big question back then. Because remember how big that console was? That thing was massive. It weighed a ton. The controller was the size of Mars. It's like it was all over the place with that console. I remember getting that original Xbox and getting a memory card because we didn't know it had a hard drive. Like something as simple as that. Like, it was weird back then having a hard drive in a console, but yeah. Anyway, but we will have one more show before the whole anniversary event, and the show after that will be the day afterwards. So it's an interesting month ahead. Anyway, loved everyone in chat today. Everyone's been well behaved, no swearing, no fanboy stuff. And by the way, I just want to say this: nobody in chat in this show does the fanboy thing, and I want to say thank you. I really appreciate that. I see chat on a lot of other shows, and it's not really anyone that does the show, their fault. But it's like everyone in chat today in general are awesome. Stay awesome, and yeah, stay safe out there. Please share, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. It really helps the channel out, and I really want this podcast to grow. I have a huge video coming out soon. It's my longest video to date, and if you've been following me for a while, I've been hinting at it with a lot of Titanfall stuff and Vanquish stuff. But yeah, my biggest video to date, it should be about 47 minutes long. It's taken a while to upload. It should be out maybe this week or Monday. But yeah.
Jamie cut.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of stuff planned coming soon. And yeah, I hope everyone's safe out there. Please enjoy. Again, share, subscribe, like all that stuff. I'm out. I hope everyone has a good day. Peace.